Wait till Sue gets me on.
Yes.
We could.
Okay, I'd like to call the Pocahontas County Board of Education regular meeting for Tuesday, April the first to order. The first item on the agenda is the members, and 4 of us are present. Mr. McNabb is absent. Let's stand and say the pledge of allegiance to the flag.
United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The agenda is approval of the minutes from the Board of Education meeting held on March the 11th, 2025. Do I have a motion? Then, if McCombs made the motion, do I have a second? Mrs. Holmes, for a second. Has everybody had a chance to look over the minutes from the last meeting? Any questions?
No, sir.
Hearing none, all those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion carries. Number 2 is the approval of the agenda. Do I have a motion? Then, Mr. McCombs made the motion. Do I have a second? Mr. Gibson seconded. Any additions or corrections to the agenda?
Well, just a number of special recognition. I did not mean to, legal terrorist, a reminder.
What we need to add that?
Yes. So science fair will also be recognized.
Any other ones? Hearing none, all those in favor? No. Motion carries. Delegations.
We have one delegation, and
Step right up.
So, last month, I got the opportunity to go watch some very talented engineers work on a variety of really different problems. And there were hardware problems, and there was a software component, and the hardware people thought the software people were causing problems. Software people thought the hardware people were causing problems. There were documentation issues. There were things that were working right in production working wrong in production that worked just fine when you tested them on the bench. And anyone who's had a car make a noise and you bring it to the mechanic and it works just fine, you know what that feels like. And it was really good. It was amazing. And if I left it at that, you would forgive me for thinking I was talking about work or the observatory. And these are exactly the same sorts of things you see every day. Hardware people, software people, mechanics, technicians, doing complicated, difficult, complex work. But what I'm talking about is the robotics team from PCHS, which last month did a state competition. And I am so proud of those kids. Yeah. It was so fun to see them just like working through the problem, dealing with stuff. And it really was a microcosm of exactly what my job feels like every day. It was exactly the same. And I want you guys to know how good those kids did. And I want you to know how good those teachers were, because none of that would have happened without the PCHS faculty and the volunteer coaches being there and helping those kids along the way and making them move past where they thought they could go, pushing them to be better, helping them with problems. It was just fantastic. And I want to make sure you guys know that, not just because 2 of my kids happen to be on the team, but because it was great. It was another example of PCHS, my alma mater, punching way above anything that they could, small school think they could do. It's fantastic. I have no doubt in my mind that some of those kids are going to go from that robotics team and go off and do amazing things. All of them have that potential. And the reason I'm saying that today is because I saw on the agenda that once again, we're something like cutting our mathematics position from the high school.
And I don't know what the reasons behind it. I don't know. If it's all- I'm not sure if you as board members know. And what I want to be totally crystal clear about is that before we make any decisions, before you make a vote on any positions or any changes that are difficult or impossible to reverse, that you know the full implications of what's going on. There's a concept called opportunity cost. Comes with a lot in economics and investing, but more broadly. And it basically means if I spend something on one thing, I can't spend it on something else. So the reason I'm not hanging out right now on the couch watching videos with my kids is because I said, hey guys, we're going to talk to people. It's an opportunity cost. If you get rid of a position at the high school, there's going to be an opportunity cost. And I want to be totally clear, and I want the community totally clear about what we might lose, what programs are going to be impacted, what classes are we not going to be able to offer, what opportunities are we going to be able to do with that change. And again, I don't know the answer to these questions. They're not on the agenda. We haven't been communicated with as a community. I don't know. I hope that you do. But if you don't, if you're not totally clear about so you might be losing. If that's the robotics team, if that's math field day, if that's the science fair, if that's a teacher or a position that helps kids become the best versions of themselves, you best know what that opportunity cost is. You gotta know. If you can't decide or you don't know right now, then we should be making a decision until we do. I'm enormously proud of my high school. I'm enormously proud of my own kids. I'm enormously proud of every member of that team. And I am enormously proud of every teacher that's worked there. Because I see day in, day out, how much they put into our kids, how much they put into our school, and how much that comes back to them. So please, don't do anything rash. It's okay to postpone a week or a month, 2 months. This one is something we don't have to rush. And I'll say one final thing is that the State Board of Ed, or State Department of Education, it mentioned specifically that communication was one of our biggest challenges. That's why the state of emergency was on us. And I feel like I've had the same version of this conversation over and over again. Let's communicate better. Communicate better. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. Any other ones? All in. Superintendent report and special recognition, young writers and honor band and science fair.
And so we're going to start with the young writers, and I'm going to have Stephanie Burns, who is English language arts instructional coach, as well as federal programs coordinator, and she also coordinates many of our extra activities. So. That would be great.
First, let me give you an overview of the Young Writers Contest. All students are encouraged to participate in the Young Writers. This year was a little more difficult than normal because of so many snakes. Normally, the teachers work with the students as a whole group. They complete their essays within the class day. This year was a little more difficult, so we didn't have as many submissions, but we still had some tough competition. And we ended up having a total of 5 judges because what I do is I organize them in the grade levels. We have 1, 2 that compete with each other, 3, 4, 5, 6, so on. And I give those essays to the judges with no names. They have no idea who they belong to, and they rank them. And we had a couple of grade levels that were tied. So then I had to go to the 4th judge, and then I had to go to the 5th judge. So there was some tough competition. So I want to congratulate all of the participants, whether they're here or not. They did a wonderful job. And I also want to thank the parents for supporting your children and for having that passion of writing. Thank you. With that being said, for first and second grade, we had some tough competition with Woodrow Hudson. If you'd like to come up here. Remain seated. Theodore Gibbon. Elliot Seldenbridge. Thaddeus Rittenhouse. Hannah Marks. Rittenhouse. And make sure I spelled your name. You did it? Oh, no, you didn't. No, you didn't. His name's. I do this to her all the time. Every competition she's in, she's like, I've heard you. You don't realize how many times, different ways we can spell Madeline. Isaac Brown. Kai Eves. Tiffany AI Fellow. I know. Ray Sattler. Star Fanny, who is busy competing in snowboarding right now.
Competition.
Bailey Goodwin, who's not here. Another one, Amanda, spells her name differently, Madeline Landis, who's not here. Bill Hardy, who is new. Cadence Cutler, who is not. Claudia Kerr, who is not here tonight. Callie Davis, who is not here tonight. Is here tonight, Joseph Van Meter. And we had some participants move on to the state level, which they are invited to attend the state event May 2nd. So if your parents are here for the first place winners for the county, please meet with me out in the hallway and I'll give you documentation for the May 2nd event. Okay? For here, for first, second, we have Thaddeus Rittenhouse. Hannah Marks, who is not here. Kai Eves. Sarah Fanning, who's not here. Cadence Cutler and Joseph Van Meter. Congratulations. Stand up.
Let's show this part to the
Yeah, stand.
Just make sure.
Good, okay?
Just go over just like that. It's Dr. Hollingsworth.
Stand up, Ms. Holmes. Hey. That's all I think about.
Go ahead. You're good. Oh. Yeah, yeah. Everybody gets. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And you may see some of these same people over the next, as well, but we have honor band. Then we have Alex Hummel. Alex is our band teacher at Monmouth Middle School as well as the high school.
So yeah, I'm Allison, so I'm back here at, Monmouth Middle School. Back in, November, I was asked to nominate kids for the Region 8 Middle School Honor Band. So the Region 8 Band District serves about eight counties in our area of West Virginia. The band was approximately going to be about 60 kids large, and we had 3 kids who were going from Monmouth Middle School. But this event was scheduled to happen in February, which we're a little as with the riders was difficult. We were up early in the morning, just hoping that we'd be able to happen. But ultimately, we weren't able to have the event. But we still wanted to recognize the kids who were selected to go. It doesn't look like any of those kids were able to make it tonight. But those students were Nicole Schrader, Kylie Underwood, and Richard White. Wonderful students to have in my band, and I hope that I have them, and I'm honored that I get to have them at the high school as well. So that's one of the things I really like about my current position. Because I get to be in middle school, I also get to see them up in high school when they graduate. But I'm proud of this. I'm proud of these kids. I really wish they would have been able to make it to that event. Honor bands like these are wonderful experiences for kids to be in an ensemble, just with the resources that an honor band can provide, that I may not be able to provide, or any individual school may not be able to provide.
Thank you.
We're just announced the middle school honor band, and Mr. McLaughlin just want to join us. He couldn't make either the April meeting, so he's going to come in May and present to us every honor band. Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
And next, we have our science fair, and it's a wonderful partnership with the Green Bay Observatory, and this is Sarah. Oh, there you go. Oh, you got I am. And you are the STEM educators at the observatory. And would you mind telling them a little bit about your position too, just so that we understand?
Yes, so I work as a STEM educator at the Green Bank Observatory. The main part of my job is education outreach, whether that is with our overnight program, teaching students how to use our telescopes that are on site, as well as working pretty closely with our local county schools, which I'm super excited and happy to be able to do. There are many times that I have just walked over to Green Bay from where I am, or biked over from my office over to the Science Center. And so as part of my position, I started in 2022. I am the county coordinator for the science fair here. That means that I work very closely with the science teachers at the 5 county schools, and after they hold a science fair or their students work on science fair projects, we will then host students that did the best within their classes to compete against each other in different categories. So when I started, we hadn't had the science fair in a couple of years due to the pandemic. And prior to that, the Green Bay Observatory had been facilitating this science fair throughout the county. But since then, I have worked to expand it from 3 different categories to now 12, so that we are in line with the West Virginia State Science and Engineering Fair. And we are now fully in line with their rubrics, using what they have, their paperwork, to ensure streamlining and fairness with other counties. And so it has grown, which is really great. We hold a county science fair in usually January or February, because the state science fair is in March and the regional fair is usually in February in Broward County. And we make a whole event for our students. We have them come over to the Science Center, and not only do they present to judges who many of them are employees at the observatory, but there are also local partners like folks from the Forest Service or nurses. And our students are able to present to them, but also they are able to explore the Science Center. We usually have at least one engineering challenge where they can compete against each other in a fun, hands-on way. And they build something that they can make and take with them. This year we made little brush bots, so little robots that they were able to design and decorate, and they took home with them. And so I'm very privileged to be able to work with the schools. In preparation for Science Fair, we will send mentors from the observatory, myself included, to work with those students in their class with science teachers. It's usually 2 visits. I will go with students and we will run through an experiment. How we come up with a question, how we go about trying to answer it. And so it is how I have been able to meet and work with so many students in this county, which I'm very grateful for. And they're so creative. Something our judges said this year was this was the most original year for ideas. So many of the projects they came up with, none of us had even thought of to try and answer those questions. And so I don't think any of the students were able to make it today, but we had 74 projects complete this year. We had over 100 students at the County Science Fair. It's an event that lasts all day, 8 to 2, so they're out of school the whole day. And then from those 74 projects, over 100 students, the top in each category and division can then go to the regional fair. So we had 11 projects go to the regional fair this year in Greenbrier County. That's up from 2023 when we had about 7. And we did have 5 projects that advanced to the state science fair this year, which we're super excited. And so, yeah, and we've had, I think, 5 the year prior and 7 the year before, which has been wonderful to be able to send our local county students to Charleston to compete. Madeline Rittenhouse is in here. She's actually going to the state science fair. She actually won first place 3 years ago. And so very excited to see what she comes up with every year. We'll always go, check in on her project. But I'm here to not only recognize all of those students that worked really hard on their project this year, but specifically students who won Judge's Choice. So not only do we grade students using this rubric, they're given a numerical grade 0 to 100, but we award 2 projects, Judge's Choice, one in elementary, one in middle. And this is across all of the divisions where judges feel like a certain project, maybe it wasn't done in the correct method, or maybe it was, but it was very original, creative, and something astounding. And so, the first project was can chromatography by Fennel Mark, who is not here, but she also won something for young writers. She's really nice to hear her name. I love hearing all these students that are succeeding in all areas. But she not only won Judge's Choice, she won first place in her category and division in chemistry, so she was able to compete at the regional fair. And then in our middle division, we had a group of 3, Miss Ivy Moore, Joe McGrew, and Skylar McQueen, for their project, Do Clowns or Spiders Scare People More? Which we thought, and our judges were very interested in how creative they were. So we have you here for them, but thank you all so much for your time and for encouraging your students to do science and be curious. We really appreciate it.
And I'm good at it. Families and its students want to stay for the board meeting, you're more than welcome. Or you may, went the wrong direction. That's all right. Thank you.
Good to see you.
Yes.
I remember, when I was in school, I always had. I played cello. That's what I know.
Did you say you play cello?
I played cello.
I play cello. Yes. In Mountain.
Yes. Mountain Mars into it. Yes. Yeah.
I'll show you. I'll show you.
Is she one of your students?
Yeah, she's in the band. She plays violin. Which is not a common instrument to have in a band program. But she's been playing for a couple of years, so.
Just fantastic.
And I have a little bit of experience with strings, so. I went over that.
So since Mr. Humble is still here, one of the updates that's going to come to you, as you know, Mr. Morgan's retiring in the school year. Excuse me. So we met together as a music team and, I did send Mr. McLaughlin an email to Ricky McLaughlin, Richard, when I started typing. There's Barbara McLaughlin, that's it. So I have to apologize for him. This is one of the ones that's spearheading this meeting. But we did spend a couple of hours just talking about where our music program is today and where we would like to see it in the future and how we can build that music program. We also brainstormed ideas on how to recruit students into the program. Just as career technology education recruits, we feel that the music program should be recruiting as well. Then I think it was Mr. Hummel had the idea of going to the colleges that have a music program and possible, graduates coming out, that we could go and speak to them, possibly take some students as well to talk to those college students about coming to Pocahontas County. So we are thinking to just brainstorming right now, and we're at that stage of even using the 3 music teachers in the county and how we make that look a little different. So again, we're in just kind of that discussion stage. Anything you want to add?
So I interviewed here last year. And after my interview, I did a tour of the high school. And I just want to say that I was very surprised with the facilities because for the size of school that you have, I think you have a very, very nice band and auditorium facility. As I was in college, I worked with Hurricane High School over on the other side of the state. They have 4 or 5 times as many kids, but they don't have nearly as nice of a band room. And they don't have an auditorium. So that was something that I was really excited about because it tells me that Pocahontas County cares about music. And that's something that I'm excited to keep working at in the years to come.
Nice.
And working on the auditorium.
And also the sound system, we have somebody coming to give us a quote on the sound system so that we can get it up working correctly. Because it's not only utilized by our students and staff for school, but also for community events.
Yeah.
So, and it's a beautiful auditorium that I think we should be using for, so excited about that. Thank you.
So do you spend most of your time at the high school? What's your day right now? What's your schedule like?
My day-to-day schedule, I do 2 classes at the middle school. I teach varsity band, which is 7th and 8th grade. And then I teach 6th grade band for 3 days a week. And then 6th grade general music for 2 days a week. And then I go out to the high school where I teach guitar, music appreciation, and band.
What's your schedule?
Yeah.
So you're probably equal time with PCHS.
I'm at the middle school for about 2 hours. So end of the day at
Thank you. Very good.
want to mention, and I haven't been doing this, but maybe be interested in what we're doing with our principals when we have our monthly meetings. And we also have weekly, we call them Tuesday talks. Every Tuesday at 9:30, we meet with our administrators, central office staff, and also join. And it's just because we found that the monthly meetings, a lot gets lost. We all get busy, our notes get put aside, and we just need refreshers, reminders. And also things come up that we need to answer before that monthly meeting. So every Tuesday at 9:30, you can join us if you would like. You can, we do it on Teams, so they don't have to come on, and we try to limit it to 30 minutes because we know they're all this in their schools. So that's our goal, is 30 minutes for 2 slots. But also at the last meeting, which was March 18th, Joanna Burke, our math instructional coach, came in and did a presentation focusing on data and how to use data. Also, Stephanie Burns, who just stepped out, our federal program coordinator and ELA instructional coach, discussed scheduling, transitions, aid requirements, and the letters training, which is, I think you all mentioned at the last meeting.
Yes, and the second registration closed yesterday, so we should be getting a list of names soon for who's gonna be in that second group to take that. And then there'll be one more group that can register for the third, which will start next summer, so. It's great, like I'm taking the administrator's part and we are learning so much. And we would like to get the group of teachers that we have taking that training together. We just haven't worked out a time that we can all meet up to talk about what everybody's learning in this process.
So we also watched a recording from the state board meeting with Vaughn Rudy. Vaughn Rudy is head of testing at the West Virginia Department of Education. And when I was looking at the agenda, because I'm kind of paying attention to this now, to see we're on there again, but I noticed that he was going to talk about the new assessment results for students and parents. So I reached out to him and I said, have you made another presentation that we could show, or just watch the recordings of that board meeting, which is what we did. It was very informational. We are all thrilled, and I know parents will be as well, because when you take that assessment, the general summative assessment, normally we had to wait till the fall to really get the results. Well, now within, they say, 24 hours, parents will be able to see their child's results. Now, he did mention that the ELA, the English Language Arts part, may be a little delayed because of the writing grading. But other than the other subjects, they should be able to see within 24 hours. So we're excited too, because that gives us data quickly to make decisions for students. We, of course, the other directors talked about various things, and we've been spending some time on our strategic plan. Our next meeting, which is towards the end of April, we'll have a lot of time spent on strategic plan, as well as we have a guest coming. It was his name just left. He's going to come and talk about behavioral program that he's established in the state. And also, we talked about the snowshoe perks program. That's for students and staff. So we've been working with snowshoe on that program, how to just really make it easier for parents to take students or their children to snowshoe. It's ski free, as well as our staff. So we're working on how to ID those students for the snowshoe staff. So, they've reached out and we're definitely working with them too. We want to get this. So wonderful perk. Yes. And that's something that we talked about even bringing up when we do our posting for the music position. I think this was one of your suggestions, Alex, was to go ahead.
Yeah, because obviously Pocahontas County is a beautiful area, and I driving from the middle school to the high school every day. Now that it's getting warmer, I'm starting to see people out on the river fishing. So if there's someone who's a very outdoorsy person, this would be a great area for them to come teach. And if they're a skier, then this would be a great thing to let people know that this is a thing. Because like that's not something that I knew about when I applied here. So that may be, just a little cherry on top of getting people here.
But I used to go out to recruit at colleges, and I would take a screen, show the Pocahontas program, show on the website, and I would have more students come over just because they saw, the activities. I tried to talk to them to come to, I think I ever got into those to come, but they were always excited to see what we offered in this county. With the hikings, the fishing, the skiing, it's all here. So also want to give a shout out to our treasurer. We had our audit review and she did a wonderful job, and I just wanted to recognize her publicly for the hard work that she did. And she has just worked, the auditor said, she has made a program for checks and balances, making sure that everything is up to date from all 5 schools. And I just wanted to give her a
I was at that meeting.
And that was about the cleanest audit that we'd ever seen.
Sure, you've done a great job. Congrats.
Is that supposed to be next week's?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, state audit.
I'm sorry.
It's hard to read.
He was just here for a few minutes, and it's like,
Yeah.
great job. Yeah.
You've done well, though. Good.
And also wanted to, and Christy Drupa was here, McDowell County Schools. Do you want to talk about what we did?
Yes, that's on my list of things to
Okay.
talk about, but we did do that donation drive for, McDowell County. And Lois Wilfong and I took all the supplies down yesterday. We collected a huge amount between the schools, the community. FRN was one of the group that brought a bunch of stuff. We had Lois's Suburban packed. She could not even see out the back. I had no place for my feet. If we had water, cases of water, they were so appreciative. They were just over the moon that we had done that for them. And then Marlington Middle School and the high school both conducted penny drives. I don't know the amounts that they collected, but those will be donated to something in McDowell County as well. So I also got to see their board office, which is just a couple years old, and it is very nice. And they have a new elementary school going in right across the road from their board office. So it was a good trip, and we were excited to do. So we do thank everybody that donated and all the community members, businesses, anybody that had a hand in that. It turned out really great.
It's great that we could pay it forward. Yes, we all know in this county, we have received lots of support from others during times of floods and things. So it was nice to get back. It's nice.
And McDowell and Joanne, East's home county, because
You're born.
Yeah.
You could still see a lot of damage, and they were doing sides had washed out and things. I mean, it was a little scary sometimes in that Suburban.
With Amanda, who's our friend who works in federal programs, she said, we don't have a road that has been touched by the flood. And I was saying that to Mrs. Wilfong, and she's like, I said, we don't even know if it's completely closed. The others are.
It was a good trip. Yeah.
And I appreciate you. Yeah, I'm doing that. It was good. So next, we're gonna have an update from our consultant, Ms. Deirdre Klein.
Good evening.
First, I appreciate the opportunity to speak to you again. We are working hard here at the board office and also at McCourse County School. And of course, you bear witness all the time as I am speaking to the beautiful things going on in the schools. All of those things are made possible by the employees who serve those children. And as I said, the last time I gave you an update, you all don't have a people problem. You have a process, protocol, and paperwork problem. And we are working hard to make those things right. And when I say working hard, I want to compliment very sincerely. If things aren't good, I don't share something that's not true. I don't put a rosy glow on something that is bleak. But at the same time, I want to tell the truth without being disingenuous. And I will tell you that you have hard-working leadership and employees in service to children in this county.
Thank you.
It's true. It's absolutely true. Teachers, custodians, just everybody on the road is working hard. And that willingness and that work ethic means so much. The superintendent and her team here at the central office is doing everything they're asked, plus a lot of things they haven't been asked to do in trying to support this improvement effort. So I want you to know that very sincerely. Miss Tritipo, I thought this weekend, if she, and I loved it, don't get me wrong, I loved it. But I thought she's young enough to be a child. May I said, if that child sends one more email, I will tell her she's got to go to bed. She's got to be. And I say that being silly, but it's true. The communication flow is amazing all around with all of these people. And at the school, to say that Miss Christine Campbell, your acting principal, and Miss Cassandra Casey Griffith, your dean of students, to use the word tirelessly and to describe how they are working is not enough, but it's their reality. Tirelessly, absolutely giving every effort that they possibly can. They, those two women and the whole staff up there, again, to use that word willing. You know, when people are willing to improve and they see a need and they go for it, that's half your battle. And there is strong, decisive leadership in that school. And I'm pleased to see that. They are collaborative. The teachers don't have any problem talking to Miss Griffith or Miss Campbell, you know, on the run, which is a teacher's life a lot of times, and definitely the life of Miss Campbell and Miss Griffith. But also they come to the office. They are accessible leadership, and the staff is willing to communicate. I would say that their leadership is child-centered, but employee-centered. And I think that's the way the teachers function as well. They seem to be child-centered. Now, would there be exceptions to that generalization? Of course, but very few, very far between. I gave you, and Ms. Trippo put them on your at your place there, and I have plenty to share if anybody wants these. This is not anything very formal or fancy. That's generally not how I operate unless I'm going to the school building authority. But I will say to you, this is just a working list of progress. We have a to-do list that gets updated and revised and looked at all the time at the school level and at the county level. We actually had a status meeting this morning between the central office and the school and myself. Very productive. They always are. But we stay on task at the central office and at the school level daily, all day, working for the betterment of the school. So the good news is I'm not going to read this whole litany of progress to you. But I do want to use that word again, lifting, because this has grown to this level and this many and this one page of 11 font in the last 3 weeks. That's amazing. And the things on here are things that take tremendous time, tremendous creativity, tremendous energy, tremendous thought. Again, you got willing people. But I do want to highlight some things. All of them are big deals. to use a word that the kids might use these days, but it's a big deal, all of them. When I look at them, I was really having trouble deciding which ones to highlight for you because they all matter. But some of the ones that are really at the forefront. First, Pocahontas County High School is being monitored. I don't know if it's a part of the emergency declaration or not, but the state testing system is coming in to monitor that school on SAT school day test day, which is April the 9th. Now, if that, to use a sports analogy, SAT school day test is the Super Bowl at a school. It just is, especially at a high school, because there's only one grade level, the 11th grade, that is actually measured for accreditation. So it truly is like Super Bowl. But let me tell you what Miss Campbell and Miss Griffith are doing on that day. They are not just testing those SAT 11th graders. They are also doing what's called the PSAT, which is like a practice SAT test for the 9th grade and the 10th grade on April the 9th. So the whole school will be tested on that day. Ladies and gentlemen, that's phenomenal. That's strong, solid leadership that is working to improve the quality of education, because we've used the data, don't we, Superintendent Foster? Don't we, Ms. Trinidad? And so that matters. And they're not just testing for test's sake. That data that's yielded from those 9th grade and 10th grade tests will give those teachers their strengths in their curriculum, their weaknesses or challenges in their curriculum. It will show them where they need to grow and what teaching needs to be altered, changed, or enhanced. So it's valuable. I don't know of another school around. There could be some, but I don't know of another school that puts that effort in it and pulls those kids together, all for one for all, on April the 9th like that. That's huge. And I didn't know that until I went there, and I'm very impressed with that. They're ready too. Another thing, skipping down just to the next one, they had started, we talked about it. We came up with, I'm a form person. I like documentation. I think it matters. I think it keeps our projects and our work, it holds that fidelity together, so to speak. But I also think it's relevant because sometimes you need the documentation. So Miss Campbell and Miss Griffith and Miss Wilfong, your communities and schools facilitator, they are literally meeting with every child. And I don't care if they're 18, getting married in June, they're children. They're our children while they're with us. But they are meeting with every child who has a D or an F, and I'm going to call them at risk academically, that would inhibit them from going to the next grade level if they don't pass the class. They are meeting personally. Ms. Wilfong spearheading that effort with every single child. We made a form to document it, even has talking points on it to keep us all one beat, one sound on the same track, literally on the same page. They even ran it off on green paper, which I love. Easy reference, find your paper. And then they meet with them. They talk about the child's efforts. They talk about what the child needs to do to bring that grade up. They help the child with credit recovery as needed. And then they go that extra step and they make contact. And they can't, some parents, are at work. They're difficult to get a hold of, but they're trying. They're calling every family. If they don't get a hold of them, they will at least mail that green form home to that child's family. I'm thrilled with that one-to-one communication with each child. And they're doing that with Miss Griffith has already done that with the seniors. Anybody that was in danger of graduating.
So I kept a small number for myself, but Miss Wilfong has met with easily like 50 kids
Already.
She has spent all day every day with those children. She has done above and beyond.
She sure has. And Miss Griffith spearheaded the seniors because those were the most needed triage, if that makes sense. I literally watched Miss Griffith with lots of help and support from the central office and the system, save a child. Now, not physically, but emotionally and academically. And they've made a way for this child to graduate. And I told her, because she's young and I'm old, hold that right here, honey. You'll need that the rest of your career. And that's what's going on up there at that school, that kind of thing. Miss Wilfong, I just went into, in the media center where it's open, visible, but private. And I went in there because that's where she brings the kids to meet with them. She got all those windows and everything. It's perfect. And I went in there and I asked her how it's going. And she told me a story of a child who was failing the class. And she met with him and she went through the expectations with him and such. She goes to his teacher, she's going that extra mile, getting his assignments that he needs to make up. And she gave them to him one day. Well, by the next day at 7:30 p.m., he had all those assignments done. He's now in good shape in that class. That's the kind of meaningful quality contact that's going on with kids. Also, skipping down senior credit recovery, there are literally students who probably would not have graduated if Miss Griffith and Miss Campbell had not, quote unquote, gotten a hold of them. We found things when we did that extremely thorough transcript review. Miss Griffith jumped on it. Are we in pretty good shape now?
Miss Kern and Miss Grosclose have been keeping a close eye on it, keeping me updated.
Good. That's what we want. And those kids, they're not getting anything given to them. Don't mishear it. They are earning what they should have earned to begin with. They're getting their second and sometimes third chance, but they're earning it. And that's when the good stuff happens, so to speak, in education. Also, the family school communication survey, Ms. Campbell created that was pushed out by the central office yesterday evening about 5 o'clock. And when Ms. Campbell was leaving, she was telling me she'd already received over 50 responses on that. Wow. The community and the families are reaching out and giving comments. And some of them are, critical, but a lot of them are positive and offering suggestion and encouragement. And that matters. There had been no staff that we could find. No staff observations or evaluations had gone on much at all this year. So I'm gonna be honest with you. When Jeff Kelly was here to meet with you all last time, I reached out to him and I said, Assistant Superintendent Kelly, Miss Campbell, and she has so much on her plate right now. Is there any way to get a waiver for her on the evaluation process just for this year? He just said, no, but I tried. And so we kind of rallied together a little bit, and it's a priority, like I do lunch duty. And Miss Griffith comes in and makes sure I'm probably doing lunch duty. Everything goes great. And those kids are so good. And so she can be out more, and she'll say, I'm going to observe it. And she'll go and Miss Pritt knows to send any issues to me or Miss Griffith, we don't get her unless, and we haven't needed to so far. And she's had time and she's getting real close to completion of those. That's a big deal in a school system. It really is, to jump in as a leader and make that happen that quickly and that efficiently. I'm impressed. And I don't get impressed much after all these 37 years. Skipping down there, we have a meeting set for April the 7th with Clinton Birch. He is the Assistant Superintendent at the Department of Ed for the Division of Pre-K and Adult Instruction and Career Engagement. He does wears a lot of hats, but one of his primary hats is career and technical education. We've got to grow that CTE. We've got to grow their numbers. Possibly this is something you all would have to do in the future, but even the offerings, to be in line with how we can get those kids in line to get jobs that are impactful, meaningful, and well paid. And that would be suited to them. So we're meeting with him. That was actually Ms. Campbell and Ms. Griffith's idea. And we talked about it because we wanted to know, what all did we ask him? Completer numbers. We want to know where we fit, at the CTE. What did we ask?
Ratio, we have this many kids. What's our good expectation for how many kids we should have completing? How are other schools doing it? What are they recruiting successfully with? We don't want to reinvent the wheel every day. So.
We really want to learn from others' success. And he's the state hub for that, so he will let us know those things. So that's just the first step in growth at the CTE. So we're happy about that. And he was quick to give us an audience last year. So we're thrilled about that. Also, the principal down at the bottom, there's 3 here that kind of go together. They're working on that master schedule, which any high school, any year, anytime, that is a big production. And Ms. Campbell and Ms. Griffith are working on that. They have collaborated with teachers about the bell schedule. I just sat there sometimes, and I think I told you all this last meeting. They've had some sense just listening. They just listen to the teachers. Now, they're not going to be able to make everybody happy. And if you're doing that as a leader, you're probably not leading. You're selling ice cream or something, But at the same time, they try. They do listen. And they have sought help from the central office, outside sources. That's coming together. They have also collaborated with teachers regarding course offerings. Ms. Griffith could probably work in some regard for the FBI because she's found course codes that weren't right. She's found course standards that we will be bringing to you all for hopeful adoption, on and on and on. When I say it's a team effort, it's a team effort. But the leadership at that high school initiate a lot of this, and so the master schedule is in process. The goal is to have teachers know what they're teaching on paper and in thought before they leave for the summer, and children to know what their schedule is due next fall, so that there's that element of predictability. There's that element of sustainability. There's that element of happiness if we can create it. My goal for them is May 15th. We'll see, right, Ms. Benson? But we're working on it. And I stand behind them with my list and my smile and my willingness to get resource that they need. And it's working well. It's working well. I can't thank you all enough for this opportunity. I don't know if there's any cheap land for sale up here. Let me know. My husband is looking at it. He would move to Pocahontas and raise cows, although he doesn't even know he can kind of do anything like that. But your area is beautiful, but most of the beauty that I'm finding are and those kids. I was in the cafeteria the other day, and then I'll hush. I was in the cafeteria the other day, and I was watching them, and I was thinking, what is it about these kids? And I told Miss Griffith, I said, they're mellow. These kids are mellow. Now, if you think that's the case everywhere, you haven't been in a school in a while. It is a case in a school where kids are cared for. And every now and then somebody will draw fists and have fun. That's high school. That's school. But generally, these kids are mellow and they know they're cared for. I love being out there. I really do. Thank you all. And I will be glad to answer any questions, talk with you individually about this list. And this list will grow. You will see.
I got a question.
Yes, sir.
We have a 7-period schedule for Pocahontas County High School, right?
Currently, yes.
Okay, how come we're not blocking forestry and carpentry and things like that into a 3-hour class? Instead of saying, introduction to forestry 1 and the instructor.
Yeah.
We are open, we are blocking.
Same thing with science in the lab.
We are
Working to what classes should be blocked.
If I could interject, what we have done at Ms. Campbell's suggestion, I reached out to Clinton Birch. We have several models from comprehensive high schools around the state. Some of them do that kind of blocking.
Yeah.
Some of them don't, but we are trying our best. And that's one of the areas that gives us concern. But we are trying our best to make that not just a possibility, but a reality. I don't know how successful it's going to be. I don't make promises I can't keep, but we're working on that. And we're using the successes of other comprehensive high schools. And I'm surprised at how many there are. There are several comprehensive high schools, but that is a jewel. To have that career and technical center for Education Center, right there on the site is amazing. Kids in Wyoming County from West Side High School, over where I live, over on literally the west side of the county, they ride a bus 40 minutes. Now, you think you lose 40 minutes of instruction every day to get to that central center over, you went right by in time. And then the kids on the east side, they ride at 20 minutes. So the equity there is an issue. I say all that to say this, what we have up there is a jewel. And what we want to do, whether we do it next year or progressively, that's one of the reasons we're starting this CTE growth and task force, is to make it better and better and better. A school and a school system never stops growing and evolving, and if it does, it starts to die. So that's what we're working on.
Well, 5 or 6 years ago, I went through the forestry program at Pocahontas County High School.
Did you really?
Yeah, and in 1976, 75 and 76, I did the forestry program. First one, I think the first one in the States at that time. And we blocked, that was a block class for juniors and seniors in the afternoon. Sherry was there with her. She didn't take the course, she was there. But, and that worked very well, because we could go through Denver, we could go to Colonials, we had time to do things. And the same way with the carpentry class, they got built buildings for people, they, you know.
I've had that discussion with Mr. Garber and, you know.
And he's very concerned about that.
Maple soup, maple syrup. You think I was a city girl, and I'm not. But what a wonderful program to have up in this literal
Oh, yeah.
So we're working on it. We're not there yet, but we are working.
When did it change?
I have no idea.
Because it was block from school though, I had a Thursday block, dealing with the block scheduling, I guess when they changed it back to 7 periods,
With the full block when you were in school?
I was in the 70s. My electricity was blocked, and then I worked there 31 years. And it went to block scheduling and.
So it was 98 through 2001, it's blocked.
It was right there.
17, 18.
I don't know if there's anybody in the system.
Unblocked it.
I don't know if there's anybody in the system that can answer that question. I don't know.
There are varying
Degrees of CTE classes that are blocked or not blocked. And then it's something that Ms. King.
It just gives them so much more time
Yeah, oh, yes.
to do,
That's
take an introduction to forestry 401 and forestry 2, and then you lose
And
a
that's
certain amount of kids.
to make sure we do PIP plans better to make sure that students aren't feeling like they're forced.
Forced to choose one thing or the other in those boxes.
And a PEC plan is a
And plan.
personalized education plan that every child does starting in middle school. And we're not just revamping that system, we've almost had Ms. Griffith and Ms. Campbell getting that up too. And the whole central office has been involved with that, so we're making strides. But one of the things that we want to do eventually, I'm a really impatient person. I like things. And I have to learn to be patient, and one of the things that needs done is to be more involving of middle school students in that career and technical education. When I taught high school for 15 years, I thought the sun rose and set in high school. Then I went to being a middle school principal, and I was there for 7 years, and I saw middle school is where it's at in terms of helping kids have hope for their future. It's where they don't necessarily even, they don't overtly articulate it, and I'm not sure they actually subconsciously articulate it, but I think they do. That's where they decide, I'm staying in this school business or I'm getting out as soon as I can. That happens in middle school. It plays out the second month of the 10th grade. Generally, that's when they quit and drop out. But middle school is where those decisions are made. So the more hope that you can peddle in middle school, the better for children. So we're working on that element as well.
Okay, thank you.
Now, that's all eventual.
So back to the state of emergency and the reason we're here, which is so important to me. But when you leave, when you finish your work, we will have a set of procedures down where it won't, we won't have to, we'll be guests. Now, we'll have a procedure, right? Oh,
and what's the
What's
time
it
test.
oh,
And we've documented what we do.
So this is what you're telling us is 4 or 5 years, we'll be going through this again.
Never again.
We have,
Likes me,
we have counties,
Everything we've done.
Mrs. Klein knows this, we have counties in West Virginia that about every 4 or 5 years, they're back under the control.
and they're down in money.
Yeah, and we won't want to do that. We want to be.
When do you think, do you have any kind of timeline when you expect to wrap it up and present to the state, or what's our test here?
We do a formal presentation, Jeff Kelly spearheads it, Alexa Grimes, crime. That's president. Alexa Crime, that Alex was here the last time, and I present to the state board in August.
I know.
Yeah, and they will, I guess that's their decision making. I've never been through this process either. You know, I just was active superintendent back July, but that's what they told me. Now, with the progress I'm seeing, I feel real good about everything. There's still a lot of work to be done. That to-do list is 2 pages shorter, but they're still dividing something. But at the same time, with these people in leadership, and with the staff that you have up there, and these people here working like they are, it's coming together. I mean, every time we meet every week, there's a new list with more things checked off, and I don't check it off till it's done. And Miss Griffith is the guard dog on that too. She's very authentic, and so is Miss Kay.
Okay.
So I think it's possible, August, but I don't know that.
You don't make that decision.
I don't make that decision.
Okay. All right, thank you. I appreciate your kind words about our staff.
It's true.
Yeah, I believe you.
It's not just platitudes. It's not just graciousness. It's your reality.
You're right. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Information report, academic and update, student representative, Joseph Banner.
I'll keep it short and sweet tonight. Starting with Naomi Kerr, she wasn't here tonight for young directors, but she also won a bronze medal in Skills USA for job interview. I got to attend Skills USA this year. And with the snow days, we got very behind on our preparation. And none of us placed other than Naomi, but competition was really tight this year. We were up against a lot of wealthy technical centers, and I have to say we were pretty lucky to have CTE program right at our own school, because a lot of kids we were competing with, they have to travel a long ways to go to their own CTE places. They spend about 2 hours there in the morning and then go back to their schools and learn what they have to learn there. But we were pretty grateful to have those opportunities at our own school. And then we had a Washington DC trip. AP English juniors, they got to go, and I think it's social studies honors class for 9th graders. We got to tour the African American Museum, the Communist Museum, and the Holocaust Museum. They were very educational, and we got to experience very culturally different things and experience ourselves to other things outside of Pocahontas County. We're grateful for the opportunity from the tourism board of Pocahontas County that funded most of it, and they also gave us a bit of money to go. And we got to see the White House, the Capitol, the monument, and it was a very nice tour. And she stole my thunder about test it next week. But a lot of the classes are hitting hard on test prep, and we're getting very prepared for that. That's
Also, I found out today, because I did talk to Christy Hammonds after one of our meetings this morning about, the phone calls that you all are making and like the reminders that we wanted to do before the test. And one of you all will explain what you've been doing so far with like the calls to the homes?
Yeah, so Christy Hammonds has been working diligently of getting our PR exported. Could not find a better one. And yet she has been pushing out, honestly, for the last month, different tips for SAT test prep or just the mindfulness, because a lot of their SAT tests is a mental just get calm, get there.
And then presenting a lot of information about just physically, this is how you study for a test. So her and I worked pretty well on that. Ms. Campbell has been leading her a lot too. And we plan to keep reminding people, this is when the testing is, make sure you get a good night's rest, that's your best guess. And make sure those devices are good. Christy's been doing a wonderful job of just providing for us. And we say if we need, and she says, give me 5 minutes. Quite literally, she told me that 3 different times a day, give me 5 minutes and it'll be in your inbox. And so students, I feel, are getting more prepared with the test, and also they're getting some of their anxiety. So I don't know where to go, I don't know what computer I'm gonna use, I don't know what charger, I don't know what charger anymore. They're getting that out ahead of time, and Ms. Campbell has been very diligent. I need parents to hear this thing on this day and this thing on this day. And so we're pretty excited about that.
That's a great idea.
And a lot of our things we're learning in class, it's not just material for the test, it's strategies like budgeting time. Or using the calculator they provide you. They use decimals, which you can practically put any math problem in there and it like tells you the answer. You just have to know how to use the calculator. But it's about just knowing what to expect on each module of that test.
And I can say that I've been in a couple classrooms up there and they are practicing using that Desmo.
Yeah.
I never even heard of it until I was in high school in some classes. And the teachers are practicing with the students using that calculator so that they know on that test how to use that calculator.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a big balance, knowing what you're doing. Yeah, good job, man.
Thank you. That's all. Thank you.
Good job, Joseph. Thank you. Mr. Trent.
Yep.
Update, you got 5 minutes.
A couple updates about pre-K. So Friday, 28th, we all got together, pre-K staff, and we talked about the curriculum adoption. We have a couple that we are very interested in. The teachers are taking one of those curriculums and they're going back and they're going to teach a couple lessons from that curriculum just to see how it flows, to see if it's something they, would like to use for the next several years. We did get some quotes on the 2 of their top picks, and there's not that much difference in the cost. So we were glad to know that either one of those are good options for us. We also, once they teach some of the lessons from that, we'll come back together, and then we will start completing the, on the app for the department, the required documents that we have to complete for them. And then we'll take it to the core team and talk to the core team about, this is the curriculum, here's the non-negotiable form that the teachers have completed, and we'll have to get the pre-K core team's approval before we move forward with adopting that, and then it will come to you all for that. They also, the pre-K staff also participated in PBIS training with Sarah Wines, and she is the Early Childhood Behavior Support Specialist for the West Virginia Behavior, Mental, and Health Technical Assistance Center in Marshall. And Amanda Shelton was here last week as well, and she's our region's coaching specialist. So she assisted Sarah in presenting. Pre-K had asked for this training back in the fall, and we've been trying to get it out in snow days. We've had it scheduled, but snow days came along, and so they finally were able to get that training. Stephanie and I need to meet to see what our next step is and how we're going to move forward with that for pre-K staff. And one thing that I do want to say about you guys, it's free. It does not cost us any money. So they come here for free and they don't charge us anything. So we like free. Yeah, sometimes they will have to go somewhere and then it costs some hotels, but we are also, I was coming down the road the other morning and I was thinking, man, how can we get information out about our pre-K staff? Because a lot of times people don't know pre-K staff, and I thought it would be good if maybe we could have each teacher and support personnel do a little blurb about who they are, where they're from, how long they've been in education, whatever. And then we could post it on our pre-K page and post it out on our sites, because they're getting ready to have
open houses in our pre-K classrooms because they finish up in May earlier than everybody else, so they can have open houses and do home visits. So I didn't know how they would feel if we would like to take their pictures, put them on our pages, but they were all on board with it. So we've already started that process. Christine Emmons is gonna work. I've been sending her the little blurbs that I've been getting. And we're gonna go out, take some pictures of the staff with the students and things and put those out so that people can become familiar with who our pre-K staff is at all of our sites.
That's a great idea.
So they were all excited about that. I was good, it was good. We have collected all the pre-K applications. They're actually in a pile in my office. The pre-K 14 will meet on Monday, April 7th, to start our placement process where we will fill out the criteria and everything. And so we hope to have all of that done by the end of April and get these lists out to our staff so they can start getting their letters out and doing those things.
How many did you have?
I don't know the number. No, it's a step. So, social studies textbook adoption, social studies, secondary social studies staff will be coming together on Friday here. We are going to talk about the textbook adoption, which ones they are interested in. I'm going to get a quote from one tomorrow. I'm going to email them. So we'll be coming together to talk about that, and they're going to be working on planning for next year. Stephanie will be working on the elementary social studies textbook adoption. The donation drive, I've already talked about that. Really want to thank our community, our families, our students, our staffs for donating all the items that we collected to take down to McDowell. Summer planning, we are having a meeting on April 3rd at 1:00. I have already sent the link out to everybody. We're going to get together. We did this last year. And it's a combination of Tell. I'm going to send it to Sarah over there, different people, so that we can put together a flyer and let parents know exactly what's going on in our community for the summer. Parks and Rec is included. So we will be getting information out after this meeting. We're also going to partner with the Pocahontas libraries this year. We have talked to him and he applied for a grant. So we're gonna try to partner with him as much as possible in Marlington and so that we can do some kits. We will be having special ed week in the county. The department will be near Marlington special education. We are excited about that. There's always room for improvement, and we are thankful for all their support through everything that we're going through this year.
And speaking of monitoring, we're also child nutrition in the county. They're just getting us all.
It'll be a busy week next week. So they'll be here. It's, I haven't sent out the schedule to the schools yet, but I will by the week. But they will be in every single school. I will be here on Wednesday working with the Department of Speech pathologist, and we are going to be going through speech files and looking at minutes and looking at schedules and just, everything. So I had to upload a bunch of stuff for them. I did that a week ago. So they will be here next week in the county. We also have are applying for a couple grants. We did submit the Title I competitive grant. So it's worth $25,000. We can get up to $25,000, and it will assist with some of our summer school expenses. We have budgeted money for summer school, but we can always use extra, and we can carry over a certain percentage in federal programs. So if we can get this grant to help, then we can maybe, have money to carry over for next year. Stephanie and I are also working on the 21st Century Grant. We're going to apply for that. I believe that was one of the grants that's funded after school programs in the past, which we have a big need for. We would like to get some of those after school programs back up and running in the middle schools and our high school to help students get some extra tutoring after school and things. So that is open. We put in for telling them that we're interested. We can get up to $250,000 if they can. I think she said today on the meeting I was on, their budget has been cut a little bit, so we may not get that much, but every little bit helps for that. There were 2 secondary transition grants. One was due yesterday. I opted not to apply for it.
I talked to my secondary transition team, and we just felt like we have a lot on our plates right now. And adding one more new thing, and we have to spend the money by the end of September and things, we just felt like it was going to be too much. So there will be another one open, and then we are going to look at applying for that one. But so we have some grants that we will be applying for, to help with some costs. But that's all I have.
Thank you very much. The Energy Express. We don't
We do, and Lucy she's on the list for the summer planning committee, but she had contacted Ms. Bostic and said that we won't be having Energy Express. They have to have a certified teacher.
Oh.
As the coordinator for that program, and they just have not.
So they can certified teachers, but you cannot miss any.
You can't miss any days. You can't split the time with anybody.
You can't miss any day.
Can't, like, somebody's very interested in, it, they'd already, have scheduled a vacation. They cannot, and so, yes, Ms. Massesso was very, very distraught when I talked to her about it. We were, we talked about the mentors that they have, the student mentors, and we can utilize those in another program. She's gonna look into that and have that. And I think she's on your summer.
Yes, she is.
Program meeting as well.
Yeah.
Shame, but I understand it.
Anybody got any more questions?
That's what I'm doing.
Mr. Radcliffe, you got 5 minutes.
So I was asked to provide the amount of money we spent, we received in our grant funds for COVID. And I'm gonna give it to you, there's 4 pages. I broke it out. So it was a total of $8,940,780.63.
For grants.
That's all COVID money. And I have listed it by projects. So the athletic program received $14,100. And I have provided you how it was spread out and in the years, which was 21 and 22. And that went to the high school. The next project that I have listed is the 10-12, which was technology, $39,727.15. That was to help purchase some of our first equipment. Schools.
Right.
Like the sanitizing equipment,
That was our technology. And then we received the project 52460 which is an invest, but it was in 24, it's been back to $2,500, which was for training to send someone. Almost go down instead of going across. 53290 was a special ed pre-K grant that we received in 22-23. It was spent in salaries and supplies. That was $6,662. Project 52260, which was $15,000, was for supplies. Uh, 52121 was a technology grant, and it was $192,840.32. We used $189,374.80 in equipment, and then we did take an indirect match, which was in the county funds, put back in for the grant cost. $1,555. Then we had a special ed award of $57,954, and that was to help with salaries of aides, I believe that was all aides. 49231 was a grant, $57,407.88, and it was used for salaries, travel, and supplies, and that was 22-23. The big grant was the 52011. Well, I shouldn't say the big one, but that's quite the biggest one.
but it was the SR one. That's when we started our big pots money. And it's divided. Now, when I put salaries in here, that is salaries in many different forms. It could have been cooks, it could have been part of a bus driver, it could have been a lot of the salaries, and I don't think it was this one, but this is where and subs out of it because that was COVID time. That's when everybody was out of our school system. So that's generally where that was. But it's all in postage. We paid a little bit of postage because we were having to get stuff out to our students. That was all spent in 21 and 22. And you'll see, there was nurses supplies, custodian supplies there, which was 56,000. That's a lot of where we were buying our chemicals, etc. and equipment. Paid 89,760 tuition to us. Also, proximity or whatever. And we used 5,950.26 and indirect costs, but you'll see in 22, we take 254.85 back. That was one of the items I forgot to take off in equipment when it's coded and we appreciate it out. That's one of the items that has to come back off, and I missed that. So that's the 254.85 that I had to take back. And then we went to the project 52112, which was our COVID-19 funds. And we spent it in 21, 22, and 23 of 1,395,670.29. And it's also separated out there. And you'll see a big chunk of that is technology. During not this grant, but the next grant. So again, I mean, this is where we bought some of our custodial equipment. That's probably where we bought those machines that are still in our schools being used to clean floors. We bought a lunch trailer. That's at 25,840. We had indirect costs, which helped cover some of our supplies. We moved out into general supplies to use as we need. This is general account, not general supplies, excuse me. We also used the big chunk of this for our technology. That was where we bought our devices. Most for that. We used some of the money for our supplies, for nurses' supplies, custodial. We helped with some of those lunch program supplies and classroom. The project 52150 was our summer summer school funds, and it was $78,416. And we used it starting in 21 through 24. We also had a portion of the 52160 that had to be used in summer school. And it was divided by 3 phases. We could use our HVAC system, which was general funds we could use. We used it for just one blank. Was the betterment of our students. I can't think what it's called now. Sorry. I didn't write it down. Anyway.
Sounds like you're doing a pretty good job for memory work.
Some. In the bottom of my page, because I had dressing brown loss. So there were certain dollar amounts we had to spend in that 52160, those 3 categories. You had to spend at least that much, and then everything else then we could use. And that is the pot of money that we used it for supplies, but what we saved in supplies, we used our 11 funds to put HVAC system in Green Bank School and Marlington Middle School, which was a little over $2 million.
Yeah.
So we used our money wisely.
Yeah.
We did not hire a bunch of people.
Yeah.
And we tried, put out bids 3 times, trying to get HVA system using this 52167. We couldn't get anybody to take it. So Wendell came back and Wendell Energies, and we were able to work with the State Department, reallocate our funds to salaries. These were salaries people that we had hired at that time that we may have to let go. We used anybody except for central office directors, anybody over a 200-day contract. So 220, 215s, and 261s. Those days over that 200-day contract, we covered part of their salaries, not all of it, but over the 200 days. We used some of it for 1 or 2 years. And then I realized that I didn't need to use all those. So we just continued to use salary base, what we needed to cover those persons that we were covering earlier. And they're still in systems and they're working, but we're trying to keep that. Been working as so, and we also had tuition to others, and I used about 94,000 in indirect costs, which then comes back to our lemon fund to cover needed expenses. We also had $13,500 for another invest project, and that was done in 25. It was first travel. Well, it's for salary, yes. Just not. And then 52261, which was a $50,000 we structure, and that was your grant that you got. So that helped. We had 2 coaches that they started 23, 24, and a little bit 25 that helped intervention in our smaller classrooms, smaller grades. And then we had a homeless grant of $12,825.53 that we was able to help some of our homeless students. Homeless means they can be with grandparents, they can be living in campers, and accept that they have to be designated in our school system as such. So we were able to help some of those students with special needs for supplies, and some of them might have a bed, or et cetera. Any questions on that? Thank you, Sherry. Yeah. I was that big, if I would have left it.
Well, kind of glad you broke it down.
I didn't want to dump it out, but it would have been a lot longer. And the other thing was the budget. Oh, you know it, I did. This is a rough draft. It will change because many things have already changed in it. And as far as, well, we've got people that move around, or will be moving around. Our insurances went up. That's a 14% increase, which is not included in here. There's legislature out there that raises may occur. Don't know when that will be. So we'll probably have a budget on May 22nd.
Whenever you say insurance, that workers' comp or PEI?
PEI. 14% on this employee. And I think that's why we're trying to do another pay bump to help the employee with their portion. But ours is also going up 14%, which is not miscalculation. The state has not given me any amount, which is close to $1 million increase for us.
That's what I'll say is.
So those are included. So the first piece. Sorry. I have everything in the first section is all of your revenues. The 11 funds is our general account,
Which is state aid and what we have to cover from our in
property taxes.
Do I keep going?
Yeah, the 61 fund, all of those are special project accounts. When you see the revenue here, when you turn over back through here, those revenues have to match what I have expenses. So in our 61 accounts, this state or Fed will give us funds for truancy, alt ed, our communities and schools, special educations, and they provide state. And then there's federal for regular special ed and preschool. And then we have our title programs. We get money for Title 1, Title 2, Title 4, and Title 5.
Full and low income.
We also have our food, our lunch program. We get some of this funds from the state where we have the free and reduced lunches. The monies in some of it is from teachers or students.
Get their second
Meal is covered in this. But you will see I have $558,140 in a transfer account. That has to come from our general fund to cover our lunch program. Last year, I think it was $300. Our lunch prices have went up, and I probably don't have to make an adjustment to move money this year because I don't think I'm going to have enough to cover it. There had been a few years that we were able not to have an 100 and some thousand. But cost prices continue, salaries continue to increase. We've had to increase that. And then the donated foods, some of the monies that we get back because of the my assistant from our commodities. Yeah. We have to pay the shipping fee, everything else is given to us. We have to make a manual adjustment in there as a to and from. And then starting at the bottom where it says expenditures, we start with our teachers, and then I have broken it out by each grade or each school. I've provided you the number of staff.
Yeah.
And so when you see the teachers and the aides, I have it all defined in there. The insurance, the OPEB is another part of our insurance that we have to pay back to the state. We have Social Security, retirement, and workers' comp. So any of our regular employees, we have to cover that. So all the way down through there, it tells us. We have coaches for ELA that we pay. The state gives us some of the substitute money for professional substitutes and our aides. We cover our homebound salaries out of that, our CTE substitutes. But that won't, that's part of county funds and part of what the state gives us for our state aid. I try to cover that. And then the service. And then we have miscellaneous payroll is down through there, which is where we have pay our people for, they go on a trip during the weekend for a conference and they are being paid that to cover that. Or it may pay for something that they are working on. I'm trying to think of. What would you pay somebody, Christie? A lot of things. This is just covered 11, but she covers a lot of hers out of her Title 5 monies for professional development.
And what do you like that's education system solutions out of the Title 5 for professional development, the group that's working with our principals and our school schedule. Thanks, we pay that out. Nothing.
We all have a pot of money in there for,
Mentorship,
Yeah.
which is about $142,000, which will cover
our mentors for our staff. It also will cover people that's working with strategic plans that go to conferences that we have a strategic plan.
So when you
Have that in there saying that so many people need to attend certain things to make our school system better, then we can pay for those out of that program. We just have to be careful. They don't get any retirement out of that, because that was one of the legislature's things. We can't get retirement if they're paying out those mentor funds. But you know, if we have new teachers that come in, they have mentors, that's where that money is coming from. And
we're using in-county, we're using in-county staff rep.
Where we can. Okay.
we have $144,000 in virtual schools. And I have to pay our state aid formula, $117,300.
For charter schools.
for charter,
So last year, the state had 315 million paid to charter schools.
This is for charter, not virtual.
Correct, this is charter. That's what's coming out of state aid formula. That's in the directions. Y'all have.
We don't have any charter schools in this county.
Students.
We have to put it back.
We have students who maybe attended virtual charter school.
But we will spend over $200,000, $300,000 for charters and
I
virtual.
understand. Is anybody actually checking to see if these kids is going to a virtual school? Or is anybody checking to see if they're homeschooled?
If they are on our proximity, yes, we're constantly monitoring to make sure they're making progress. And then if they're not, we have an agreement that they need to come back.
You all can answer this. The other question I have about these homeschool children. Have we ever checked with them?
No.
Or is there any accountability on our part to check on them?
I have custody that, Ms. Shiplet reaches out to them. Now, whether or not we get a response.
But what I'm referring to, Mrs. Baltic, we all heard about the case in Boone County. And, I don't know whether it's our job to check on them or whether it's the DHHR's. Somebody has to have responsibility for these children. And I don't know who that responsibility lies. But I just wondered if we had that person to go out to these homes and say, hey, y'all know what a good place Pocahontas County is to go to school?
Well,
And I realize things have changed. Me and Sherry didn't have a choice when we went to school. It was get up in the mornings and go. It's a little different now. But I just wondered if anybody checks on these children that's, back up these hollers in Pocahontas County. Because we all live in one.
That's one of the complaints with the legislatures, because all you have to do is say, go to homeschool.
Yeah.
And that's it. There's no accountability for them at all.
Well, they gotta be testing to see what they do. Or they
They only test them to come back in school.
Who's watching with the phone at the end of the 12 years?
Well, we're not getting paid so much.
They're not their responsibilities. And that's weird, but that's why.
There gotta be somebody's responsibility because,
That's how.
That's our right.
you know what I'm saying, though, they should be. So they're children,
There used to be,
they're children and
but there isn't anymore. Our
we're
legislature.
taken care of,
Their parents signed them out.
I realize that. Mr. Gibson, but it's awful to think.
So I thought money sent away,
No.
money in attendance, and then below that is our guidance and each of our schools. I have money set aside for our school nurses, LPNs,
librarians, your all salaries, your social, or your school board association dues, et cetera. I've also put money in here for grant writer, our audits, and legal services. Our executive admin, our contracts with, we have Neola and other contracts where there's many of them that we pay for.
Well, you have Neola, like, that's our policy.
Yeah, that's our policy. So there's ESC, we have to pay them.
That's,
Technology repairs, we have to, I mean, there's our superintendent's travel and stuff there. We have my salary, director of finance, our secretary of payroll, central office admin. Part of their salaries is in there. Technology, I cover technology out of 11 fund, regular. And I also do step 7A and step 7B and cover salaries for technology. Admin, principal salaries are next. Custodial services in our 5 schools. And then their supplies will be next. Substitutes are in there, where we pay the water, sewage, electricity. I may even have to cover electricity this year or more, we're using more. When their rates went up, rates went up. And heating oil prices are continuing to rise. Fire marshal inspections. We have summer custodial help in the summer, which is about 10 days for each school, 7 to 10 days of summer help. They all have the supply line item, and then our maintenance staff, and then their supply line items. Transportation costs for our drivers. Their extra trips are in there, the substitutes, mechanics for our transportation department. And then their supplies. Then we go into our special ed. This is for each of the schools that have teachers and aides that we're covering. And it's mostly teachers that we cover out of the we try to cover aides out of the special ed, which keeps our numbers down in the count that we're over in state aid formula. We also have other professional services. If we need extra, we've got it in there. And then our preschool. Speech pathologists that we have on staff, vocation department, their salaries, alt ed, which is just a portion. The rest of it's covered under special ed. And it's only at the high school. We have the coaches that we cover for all the schools. And then this is the salaries that we're covering out of step 7. You'll see most everything, if it's not salary from this point forward, is in reserves. That allows the directors to put those funds where they need them in their programs. We only cover the salaries at this point. They have a governor GPS system, which they have to go in for the Fed programs and put those budgets, and they have to be approved at the state level. And they're putting everything in there now.
Yes, they are. I have my special ed funds in there, and then all my federal programs is in there, and they're getting to put communities and schools in there as well. So all of my stuff is in GPS, and we have to go through, we have to put security, how much we pay for each thing from every staff member. And then I submit it, and then the superintendent and Sherry have to approve it, and then it goes to the state, then they have to approve it, and if there's problems or it doesn't jive, then they send it back and we have to fix it. But you have to put the details in there. So when we were doing summer school, you have to put exactly what that money's paying for. So you can't just list summer school. You have to list whether you're using it for cook, the transportation, like you have to be very specific in that system.
And even with supplies, they want to know
Yes,
what.
they want to know what supplies you're getting. So all of my stuff is in GPS.
How you're gonna benefit the children, because there's pieces in
Yes.
there. And there's a $1,000 percentage. And
And the grants, the Title I competitive grant that we just applied for was in GPS. The 21st Century Grant, I would guess that's where that's going to be housed probably.
And I believe all of those ship would say that Clear Tech is.
yes, it's in here. Vocation's in there. They moved it after the fact, but it's in here. So academic trips, what the schools get is in this pot. It's divided in by student ratio, whatever's in the student. I divide that out by each school. Truancy grant covers part of the salary. Faculty Senate, that's given us to the state, and it's divided by the number of staff that's in the school. In the alt ed. Communities and schools. Title II program. This is just what is salary base, pretty much, so.
So there's your Title I teachers
Yeah.
or as part of, instructional coach.
Yes, whatever the director. School improvement. Which is our Green Bank School. And then we have our special ed federal programs here. This is what it's covering. And the pre-school special ed programs. Food service is the next portion of it, which is all the salaries, and then their supply line, what food cost is. You can see the food program. I have its. Yeah, let's see.
On food, yeah.
So that's. And then your totals of each fund there. Missing the 71, which was a.
So 24,768,300.
$78,350 is what you.
So
That's our budget for Pocahontas County School.
is an estimate at this point.
Yeah, well, of course, we understand.
If you gotta transfer stuff, you have to do stuff. We don't know if we're gonna get forced your money or not. I think that on the front page, so. You know, and that can't be budgeted until you know, or if you can get it.
There is no fortune money in this one.
No, I know.
I realize that. The other question that I have, I understand we only hear the worst ones, so bear that in mind when I say this. Attendance director.
Halftime. I should halftime attendance director, halftime.
Everything.
Everything.
She has food service.
Who's our secretary?
Jennifer Barnes
Okay.
for food.
For food.
And homeschooling and,
Okay, we
Can't
had,
account last year, it's 45 days.
the DHHR couldn't do anything about it until they got letters from the attendance director, and they never received one.
so they need to contact us. I mean, that, you know,
No, our attendance director has to contact them.
I'm not aware of the situation.
Yes. I can talk to you about
Okay.
it later.
Yes.
But,
We dropped the ball. And I realize we only hear the worst ones. Whenever we go into school to talk to the principal or, it's a lot better to talk to
secretary, because they know everything's going on in the school.
But, you know, we only hear the bad things. We don't know how many letters was sent out to parents for these kids in a day. We don't, for 5 days or whatever is required. We don't hear that.
It's only the
worst ones we
We
hear.
send them out with 3 and we send them out with 5 and 10.
I know we did, but that was one reason that we're really on this, pullback policy. You know, the policy for
Retention.
retention policy was because we didn't have. And so that's your past, of course. And that's hard to do if you just switch out there.
Depends on the student.
Depends
on the student, whether they can make it or not.
in the situation that why we students.
Well, there's situations.
Right.
There's situations, but letters shouldn't be. Somebody should be off. Now, it looks good, sure. Thank you very much.
Larry, are you hearing any, are you financial people across the state, are you all?
You know, we're hearing a lot of things about federal cuts and what that'll run to.
Are you all at least talking about
That or
We,
thinking about Plan B or something?
we have not seen anything on what we're getting in federal funds, except we were told it should be about the same that we had. And that's
So-
what, at this point,
So,
I mean, that's what we can do.
Yeah.
We wouldn't be it, as many other, what happened to it. Maybe it's supposed to do the job.
maybe.
Well, if it's our state, like, school, state run it. Whatever we went there, the state run it. Yours. It should be part of that, form the Department of Education.
There's a lot of unanswered questions. Okay, thank you, thanks.
Approval of the following consent financial requirements. A, payment of vendor listings, $59,714.36. Payment of local government purchasing cards, $70,205.08. March 18th, 2025 payroll, $292,292.84. Extra duty pay for the month of March 2025, $12,857.60. Grant awards. Pocahontas County School Summary of Schedule of Revenue and Expenditures on a cash basis for the month of February 2025. And number G is budget adjustments. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Mrs. Hollingsworth made the motion. Do I have a second? Mr. Gibson seconded it. Any questions on item number 6? Fine.
that's around.
Okay. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Gotta say it loud. Let the record show that Mr. Coleman stepped out of the room while we vote. He's allowed to come back now. Yeah, there we go. Number 7, approval of a contract between the Pocahontas County Schools and Development Advantage LLC for consolidation services of functional behavior assessment. Do I have a motion? Mr. McCollum made the motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Mrs. Hollingsworth second. I changed my mind at 7.
You know, what is this, man? What are we talking about?
And it's that I have to contract with to conduct functional behavior assessments on some students in our county.
It's something we have to do. Is there any way we can use in, again, is there any way?
You have to be
You
qualified.
have to be special qualification.
We're not very long term, yes. We would like to have somebody in the county that, you know, a team that could go out and do this, but we are not there yet. So we're working on it. It's a work in progress.
Any other questions?
No,
All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Motion carried. Number 8, approval of daily living skill standard for 9th through 12th grades. Motion.
that made
Mr. McCollum made motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Mrs. Hollingsworth second. Any questions on number 8?
I have a question. Where does this fit in the curriculum in high school?
Well, we haven't had this. So this is new.
I don't,
And some of our students need some daily living skills.
I'm not questioning the fact that we're having it. I understand that it's mandated and, but what I'm asking is it gonna be under special ed? Is it, so it's gonna be under special?
Special.
And there will be a space in the schedule.
Okay, that's all.
I had the same thing.
Yes.
We-
This will be a credited class.
When you read,
It'd be geared more toward contained the industry there.
they always. We all could.
Any other questions?
All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Motion carries. Number 9 is approval of changes to Board of Education meeting due to approval of the meeting policy on March 11th, 2025. Mr. Collins made the motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Mrs. Hollingsworth, second. Any questions on that?
Yeah, I don't have a question. I'm gonna go on this because, I'll tell you what, I think we're taking money from
Student instruction is.
that's why I'm gonna vote.
All right. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Sorry. I'm not Mr. Gibson. Motion carries 3-1.
Yeah.
Let the record show Mr. Gibson voted no. Didn't want to get you in trouble.
Yeah.
Okay. 10, approval of policy extracurriculum interscholastic physical education. Do I have a motion? Paul made the motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Mrs. Hollingsworth, second. And this is where we approve for football and soccer and track and could count it as a physical education plan.
You know, one of the comments which you have in your packet included, you know, why can't we use, like, if their child is on a swim team? Well, it has to be approved in our school system and also from the West Virginia.
And that is such a shame. And I'm gonna vote no on this again because that, because, you know, we have a lot of kids that, well, we have a kid that's now competing on a national level in snowboarding out west right now at the very minute. That's pretty sensible.
Some of these days we may have a ski team, but we don't yet. So it's gotta be something school related.
And that's, and we have to, and there's no way we have, it has to be through the WVSSAC. It has to be through the school.
Yes.
Our school.
Has to be a school sport.
All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion carried 3-1. Let the record show Mr. Gibson voted no. Approval of Alexandra Hummel to take 7 students from PCHS and 23 students from MMS to Philip Barber High School in Philippi, West Virginia on April 11, 2025 for the Region 7 Rating Festival. It should be Region B.
Oh.
Region 8, we only got 7 on here.
Yeah.
If I'm reading my.
That's not a.
But that's fine. We can change Region 8. Yeah, we can change the number. Do I have a motion? Mr. Holmes made a motion. I have a second.
Second.
Mrs. Hollingsworth, second. Any questions for that?
I'm happy to vote yes.
Okay, all those in favor, signify by saying aye. Motion carries. Approval for Charles Hughes and Christy Hammonds to take the Pocahontas County High School Theater Club, approximately 15 students to Stanton, Virginia on April 17, 2025 for a performance of Shakespeare at the American Shakespeare Center. Motion.
So made.
Made the motion, and Mrs. Hollingsworth seconded. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. I don't think anybody's going. Approval for Andrew Frill transport 6 students to Cedar Lake Conference Center in Ripley, West Virginia overnight for the West Virginia Envirothon contest on April 16th, 17th, 2025. Transportation provided by private vehicle. Do I have one? McCollum made the motion. Do I have a second? Mrs. Hollingsworth seconded. Any questions or discussions on this one? All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Number 14, approval
Of the MIT grant at Mornington Middle School to replace the roof
and possible
boilers and water heaters grant application for $1 million with Board of Education share being relatively tentatively $250,000. Do I have a motion? Mr. Combs made the motion.
275,000. I think it's all that.
You can't raise it $25,000 while we're talking. But we need to make that a correction then to 275,000. I think we can amend the agenda by numbers, can't we, Miss?
Please go.
Yeah. If we vote on tonight, she can do that for us. We understand.
Yeah, but
Is it MIT?
MIT.
It says
P on here.
It should be P as in Paul.
Okay.
Sorry.
There's
only certain things we can change.
It's going to the
Okay.
That's the A's.
Mr. McCollum made the motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Mrs. Hollingsworth seconded. That's for the Board of Education share will be tentatively 275,000. Just so everybody understands. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion carries. Approval for an extra fundraiser at Greenbank Elementary Middle School, pie a teacher or staff member between April the 2nd
And the 16th, 2025.
Motion. Holmes made a motion. I have a second.
Hold on, we go to that.
Say it, you need to pay your money before the one.
All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion carried. Approval of the superintendent of schools vacancy posting of Wednesday, April the 2nd, 2025 at 4 p.m. until Monday, April the 14th, 2025 as the deadline for submissions of applications. Do I have a motion? Mr. McCombs made the motion. Do I have a second?
Yes.
Mrs. Hollingsworth seconded. Give you a little bit. I think that posting come out today, didn't it, Miss Boston?
I think so.
So, yes, the West Virginia School Board Authority put it out. I got a copy of it. I think all of you all did too, didn't you? So, works on through Jim Brown, which them to put it out all over the state. And I also have asked Mrs. Klein if she would sit on an interview, and she has agreed to sit in the interviews with us. Might know a little bit more about the
Questions to ask, because it's very important that we get the right person. So,
all those in favor, signify by
I'm saying aye.
motion carries. Now, number 17 is approval of service and professional personnel. Have a motion. Mr. McCombs made the motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Mrs. Hollingsworth, second. Sam, you're leaving me out of there, buddy. Okay. Miss.
Trying to get I just wanted to give you some reminders, and for some reason, it's not wanting to participate with me here. Let's see. Oh. maybe. Let me try this again. Share.
I had asked Ms. Bostick to, give a short explanation on especially the abolition.
Of the man.
Well, no, abolition, because it was confusing. Well, all the positions being changed.
And it's not going to come up for me. Okay, so I'll just go ahead and talk through it. I don't know what's not coming up on your screen.
Start talking, I'll start.
Okay, so I just wanted to remind you all, we talked about this. I also presented something similar more in detail to our staff earlier this year about the steps in reduction in force. So one of the things we do, we're constantly monitoring numbers in all of our classrooms. We're monitoring the courses that are being offered according to policy 2510, which is follows state code, which is state law. as well as policy at the state and county level. All else spells.
You're very, well versed in this.
So, and then, I work with the principals too. We're constantly monitoring. I don't know why I'm shut. And, again, referring to state codes and policies, we're looking at the budget, working closely with, Mrs. Radcliffe and communicating, with the various people that are involved in making the decisions on staff. So I also work with our attorney, Jason Long, to make sure that we're doing everything, crossing our T's and dotting our I's to make sure we're following the information that we have provided. Then I start meeting with the directors as well. And we're like, it's quite a process to go through what are our course offerings, how many students will we have next year, because we are under a timeline and to do ref and transfer season. We talk about possible reductions of staff. We brainstorm position changes. And of course, I'm also saying to principals, have you heard anybody who's retiring? What are possible, vacancies that we're going to have? We also look at certifications of all of our employees. And I know Ms. Griffith's been doing that at the high school. And if anytime you can't find one, call Ms. Barkley or I will help you with that. Because there are only certain subjects or certain levels that teachers can teach based on their certification. I meet with the principals, discuss our vacancies and of the areas that we think we can transfer people or positions we can cut. And again, following state code and policy. And then I meet with the actual staff that we're putting on transfer or cutting. So I have met with all the staff required to do that before today. And they have letters from me, and they also get a certified letter regarding their transfer into another position. And we can talk about those. They're on the agenda tonight. I do want to remind you, and I wish I could put this up here, but we do have maximum numbers in classrooms at the elementary level. So in pre-K, we can only have 20 students, and one ECAT, one aide is required. In kindergarten, we can have 20 students, but we can add 3 and pay the teacher for 3 more students. And we have to have an ECAT, the aide, if the enrollment is more than 10. Then grade 1, again, ECAT, we only can have 25 in a first grade classroom. But if we have more than 12 in a classroom, we have to have the ECAT aide. You'll see sometimes that we'll be like, okay, we are over, say 30. Okay, let's divide this course up, these students up and have one at 12 or 11 and without an aide, and then the rest in another classroom with an aide. And grade 2 and second grade, we only can have 25 in the classroom, but we have to have the ECAT if there's more than 12. And grade 3, only 25. And that is this year or for next year is new because we will be adding those ECAT aides into our third grade, which you'll see on the personnel, just asking for that creation of that position. So that is something that's required for us to have, are these ECATs, the aides in these classrooms. And
The third grade success.
yeah. And then in our grades 4 through 6, the maximum enrollment is 25, but we can go to 28, but we have to pay the teacher for the 3 extra students. I talked about that we would look at the employee certification. I also have to look at the seniority list, which is very important when you're looking at especially service personnel. And then the deadlines on or before April 1st, the superintendent must provide written notice to professional and service employees who are being considered for transfer. And then on or before May 1st, the board must conduct a hearing for any employee who has requested one regarding his or her proposed transfer. And then, I just always say we need to remember that we look at the position, not the individual staff member. We have to follow state code, which is state law. And personnel season occurs in all 55 counties in the state of West Virginia every year. It's not a new item going on. So with that said, I want to go over our professional and personnel. Service personnel. So the Green Bay Elementary School. Currently, we have a substitute and our Title I position. So I thought this was a good time to make a change. So once they abolish the Title I position at Green Bay Elementary Middle School, effective for the end of this school year, so that we can create a Title I/gifted teacher at Green Bank Elementary Middle School, starting the next school year. The reason being, right now, we have Becky Spencer, our principal in Hillsborough, is also our gifted teacher. We're transporting students to the high school. Some of them are attending that gifted program and some are not. And we had a discussion, I believe, Ms. Trico, Ms. Spencer, Deputy Burns was also in on that discussion, and they talked about they feel it would be best for those students if they have a gifted teacher in-house in the school, so that they can provide those enrichment activities on a more regular basis and in their own school setting. Then I also, at Green Bank Elementary Middle School, we need to create a 1st through 3rd grade ECAT aide. And this is because due to the 3rd grade vacancy, because we have to add 3rd grade aides for the 25-26 school year. I'm now changing those to a 1st through 3rd grade. Originally, we did it by grade because each year it was like maybe 1st grade. Next year we had 2nd grade we had, and then this is 3rd. That way it'll make it a little easier for aides to move around if needed. And then we also went to abolish the special education teacher at Green Bank Elementary Middle School, one of them at the end of the 24-25 school year due to lack of need. Again, special education students move to the next level, and we do not need that position. A grade level reassignment is Brittany Place from teacher 3rd grade at Green Bank to teacher 5th grade. This was done an in-house transfer. We do not need 2 3rd grade teachers next year at Green Bank because they're coming up to 3rd. So we gave her the option of going into the 5th grade, which was vacant from a teacher who resigned earlier.
So there'll be no vacancy created by that.
Correct.
Retirement.
But we have a retirement, so there will be a vacancy. Because so Cindy Hillary has retired as 1st grade teacher at Green Bank Elementary Middle, and that'll be effective June 6, 2025. That'll leave a hole in that school. I know that some of the staff has talked about. Great support, she said.
She's a wonderful person.
Hillsborough Elementary School, again, we're creating a 1st through 3rd grade ECAT aide, and that is because of the 3rd grade vacancy, which will start the next school year. Reduction in force is Paulina Schoolcraft, the 2nd grade ECAT aide due to lack of need, and that will be at the end of this school year. So what happened to Ms. Schoolcraft? She's in 2nd grade currently as an aide. The 1st grade at Hillsborough Elementary has 6 students. We do not need an aide in 2nd grade when they go to 2nd grade next year. So we have to have an aide when there's 12 and there's only 6. So we have, as you can see, we will have openings in 3rd grade and some other grade levels as well for each.
So you're not gonna reassign her, she's able to reapply.
For these other
So
positions.
what happens, well, we have 3 aides that we have to put on written transfer. So what's gonna happen is those 3 aides, and we've talked to them, and as Mrs. Spencer likes to say, she like they have a golden ticket, meaning that they, according to the seniority, whoever's most senior aide will get to pick the location of one of these openings that we have for aides. And then the 2nd one will get to choose, and then the 3rd.
They can actually bump somebody out of the completion.
We have vacancies.
Okay.
So we have 3 aides and we have 3 openings.
We actually have more when you see.
Right.
But next year, since we're creating these positions, the way we move them.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And so, you know, I spoke with Jason Long, our attorney, about this, and we talked about it too. When we originally created these positions, like say, it was only for first grade, and the next year it was first and second, and then now we are first through third, so that's what we're posting is from, is that one.
And so all these people we talked about so far have a chance to reapply for employment.
Yes, they will get a job.
Okay.
Yes, I told them they need to let me know which position they want. And then we'll go by seniority as to where they.
Thank
And then I would abolish that the grade ECAT position at Hillsborough because again, like 6 students coming up, we don't need them. And then grade level reassignment, this is just like Mrs. Clay said, Green Bank, Gina Harsky wants to move from second grade at Hillsborough Elementary to 4th. That 4th grade opening is due to a retirement. So
that'll create a vacancy.
Right, that'll create a vacancy in second grades, which will be posting. I'd like to get all these postings out as soon as possible. So we can get them filled, you know, even by the end of the school year. So this is another aid that is reduction in force and federal transfers. Carrie Curry, and she's a special aid, education aid at Hillsborough to possibly like, and we're gonna go, she's going to talk to her again about that she will have a golden ticket. So that she'll be able to select the location according to her seniority.
Now, so let me ask you, you know, we hired an aide for Hillsborough back in the spring. It was
I
summer.
thought it may have been, it was, I think it was Ms. Curry.
So is that position reassigned or who's, is that
She
staying?
had some lack of need for the next school year.
So
That's one of the questions we hired for, and that's what you're talking about.
Yes, and you know, things change, and so you never know, you know, students move in and out or tell us they're moving in and out, and so sometimes we have to make adjustments.
Get that.
But they're not gonna lose the job.
No.
Nobody's gonna lose the job.
Everybody.
It's gonna go somewhere.
Right. Morganton Elementary School, again, we are creating a first through, third grade ECAP 8 position. We need 2 of those for third grade and 1 for first, because currently we have 1 ECAP 8 in our first grade classrooms, in the 2 classrooms, because we did a smaller classroom and a larger one, but the kindergarten coming up next year, we need 2 first grade aides. This is another aid that is reduction in force is actually Diller as ECAT special education classroom aide at Morganton Elementary. And again, it's due to lack of need, but she will have one of the positions. At Pocahontas County High School, abolish math teaching position at Pocahontas County High School due to lack of need effective at the end of the 24-25 school year. Our enrollment is dropping at the high school. We're about between 250, 260 right now. And, you know, talked to our consultant, Ms. Klein, as well as looking at the course offerings. We need to follow policy 2510 and really concentrate on what is required and not what we have created. We need to first focus on what is required.
Does it have anything to do with the robotics class that you're talking about?
Or indeed anything else. I'm curious about if this, the master schedule has been written yet. What classes are we potentially losing? I understand the need to focus on making sure we have the core curriculum.
Because we have 3 ELA, we have 3 science, we have 3 social studies teachers currently, and 4 math. And right now, nobody's losing their job. because that is the position that was vacated.
Yeah,
And we have.
that's great. What courses are we potentially not being able to offer?
It's not done yet.
Right. We have to have, the students have to complete their PEPs and then they have to decide what. Right.
Ms. Griffin, you lobbied last year to keep this position.
Yeah.
Now, what are you gonna do this year? What are you gonna do this year? I helped you lobby last year. I was on that side of the table. But is it a period of need now since you're ordained the students?
I mean, I think this is a hard question for me to answer because I'm not an administrator. And I try to be very firm of like, I have student issues, not staff issues. So I believe Christine would be better to ask about that because I do know that she had conversations with our math department about need for that. But I can't say for certain, we do not know how many kids. We have estimates of kids that would be in class.
Ms. Klein, what's your opinion of this? You've been at the high school and
Well, I don't think, and this means nothing, but I don't think that schools ought to have to quibble with state aid funding for positions. I think that schools ought to be, and I'm glad that the Pentagon seems to have carte blanche as far as money.
Yeah.
I think schools should be the same.
Absolutely.
That said, that's not our reality. So you all have to maintain a balanced budget.
yes,
You legally cannot go in next. I would assume this is the same here as it is in most all counties. Personnel is 80% of the budget.
76% here. I looked it up.
If it's not managed well, you have a mess and you end up in terrible shape. That said, what Superintendent Bostic is doing this evening, and this is not a pity party, it's just a reality, that's the hardest part of this job. And those conversations that she's talking about with these people, because even though I've heard her say numerous times, no one's losing a job, they are not where they're comfortable. They're not necessarily where they love, and on and on. It is a position issue, but it's also a human issue as well. That said, hypothetically, we don't have a schedule at this point, but just pure numbers. The acceleration needs for those students can and will be met. The core curriculum needs for those students can and will be met. And there will be opportunity for growth within that. So, and I was surprised at how many college level courses, credit courses, that kind of thing that are offered via virtual. I mean, there's 2 teachers up there that do a tremendous amount of virtual monitoring and proctoring and so forth. That's the world we live in now. And you talk about when you and Sherry were in school, I'm not too far behind you there. And the world is so different.
yes, it is.
So I do believe that this number, I believe we will be able to meet the needs of students. And that robotics program was one of at the last board meeting that I attended, was one of the highlights of things I've seen. So I believe it, and I believe it.
You can say I did do the numbers last year. Can't promise that. And when I have been going through course offerings in 2510, there are more math classes that have to be offered than in some other sections, which does put some of that conversation in a tricky place when you talk about programming. You would not have the same programming you have right now. Does not mean that we can't meet students' needs. It does not. There are a lot of factors that go into that, but programming, it would be a lot to say programming wouldn't be different. Well, doesn't mean everything's going on. We just teach the whole math.
I agree with this. I agree with
First,
this.
maybe would have to be different and choices would have to be made along the lines of, do we want large classes? Do we want to offer these things virtually? Like things like that would have to be.
But the same.
Conversation, but it is a thing that you have.
Read.
Read. Teacher.
You can always put it back. Are done. You can always put it back,
We can put
but
it
you
back.
can't take it away if you don't.
Right, we have to take it away now.
You do
But we
not
can
have.
put it back after the schedule is finished.
Is the difference.
See everybody's.
You have 2 full-time teachers
Exactly.
and 1 half-STEM teacher. As well, is a note.
We've got a situation like now, correct?
She is a full-time advanced/STEM teacher. As her contract was done, my understanding, but also in your practice too, you have 3, 4, she kind of said, teachers doing math and computer science.
When did the students choose their class? When you all start working on the schedule for next year? Now.
We are in, we're in the cursory part of that process. We've had to literally reestablish the personal education plan steps. And Ms. Griffith, we are working on that. And she's going to work with the middle school students because they drive the 9th grade schedule.
Right.
So that is the process, and it will move rapidly, but we're not there yet.
The one thing I don't want to do is I don't want to take anything away from our kids that give them a brighter future. I mean, our job, and whether we spend the money or not, is to educate them.
Absolutely.
And that's what worries me about abolishing a math position.
You know, we're taking away a program or two programs that give our children in Pocahontas County a start over
Randolph County or Monroe County. That's something that'll help our children.
But as I said, we have to abolish it now. We have no choice. If we don't abolish it now, then we can't abolish it in March, or I mean, in May, when we find out there's not enough students to,
No, you can abolish the course
you know.
You can abolish it though, if you don't get enough students to make it. But how's our math classes?
Are they filled up at the high school? How many students are in the class?
Did you hear me talk about the numbers, the elementary school?
I did at the elementary school. Now, I mean, but how about the high school? How many kids do we have in classes at the high school? I'll find out tomorrow, because I gotta go give a speech for the civics class.
Well, it depends on the course. It's answered like,
Can we combine the courses? To get these, what I'm trying to do, Sherry, is try to get these kids the maximum amount of what they want. And not only 25-10, but to help them when they move into college or till they move into a trade school.
Or maybe instead of what they want, but what they need.
What they
To be
need,
successful.
to give them an advantage.
Right.
We have the same number of staff at that high school, probably when we had 600 students versus 250.
We have a lot more staff there. Vocational building was full. You had a vocational director. Yeah, you had a vocational director there. You had a principal, you had a assistant principal, you had 2 counselors. There was a lot of stuff there. And this is what surprises me to this day, is we had 659 kids in the school, Sherry, whenever me and you went. Now we got 270, and they said, well, we don't have enough room. Where did the high school get smaller? Did the kids get bigger? I mean, because I realize because of certain codes and things that we had to build on to the science wing because of that. But, I just never could understand.
And something to think about, if we don't get all the federal funds we need, we're gonna need county funds to cover the staff we have, because now it will be too late to let our staff.
I want as much information as we can get to make a decision. And, I don't know what that answer is.
You already factoring in the federal funds?
Because that's what we were told, but we don't know. That's what I'm saying. We don't know in the federal funds, but we do know if we don't cut this person down, this abolishment, we can't cut it this year.
And the other courses that teachers are offering have to be approved, and the standards have to be approved by your central office, and we bring them to you as we did tonight with the life skills. We cannot give credit to a class, to a course that has not been approved. It is not in the standards.
Well, are any of the, is this position not approved?
The position courses, we're working on.
And, what, I don't know what our math department thinks about this. They're the ones going to be dealing with this.
Ms. Campbell's been working with them to create schedules in the courses for just 3 teachers versus 4.
Do you have is there sub in your spot right now, Ms. Griffin?
Every person, that's all there.
Well, if a 4th grade teacher, a 5th grade teacher, and a 6th grade teacher, and a 7th grade teacher, and an 8th grade teacher can have 25 kids in their classroom. A 9th grade and 10th grade, 11th grade and 12th grade teacher can have the same.
That's not what it is.
Well, but what I'm saying is that will open up more spaces to offer these higher level robotics if you don't have 3 teachers teaching math 2, when it could be 2 teachers teaching math 2. Then you have a spot for all these, the upper level things.
And I would encourage you to go to your elementary schools and look at the number of students you have in classes. When they are learning those foundational skills. I talked about that in the last board meeting. And you've got overloaded classrooms in elementary, and that's where they're learning those foundational skills. And to say that, yes, they can have 25 kids in a classroom, and then these teachers can have these amounts, I would encourage you.
You was vice principal in the class. So you know what's going on. It's not that I'm worried about the amount of students in the class. It's what are we giving up?
STEM classes.
Are we?
The needs of the kids will be met, and that's who comes first. The needs of the students.
We're here for the kids, and we talk about what we're giving up for math, but what have we gave up for English? What have we given up?
You give up for science because it's only 3.
But the sound of things and these kids coming up, we're gonna have to add that teacher back in 6 or 7 years.
Maybe somebody else will.
But
I understand completely.
I just want to get all the angles before we make a decision.
Do we have to vote on this?
But it's not a set in stone decision, that's.
Well, you gotta, when's
the deadline?
Well, it's what we were saying is once that schedule comes out and we see that there is, we have full classes and that the whole class is not 5.
Yes.
Then maybe we need or 2. Maybe we need for math
There
teachers.
you Well, I mean, the dates, when is the date we have to have this by?
Well,
There's a time.
April 1st, and I mean, is.
Well, you don't sit out there. But I mean, when do we have to vote?
I know what you're saying. Can we table this for another?
Cool. 2 weeks?
Is that at the dates? I'd like the frosting to get involved with it.
Do it or not. I mean, we went through this last year. We had this whole big district. We had the kids all out on the sidewalks, it's a complete circus. And now here we are again.
I'm not, I just want to know how many, we gonna be 4 or 5 in there. I'm not there, but I want to know what classes we're losing.
I'd like to have.
We're not, according to them, we're not going to lose any class.
They're just gonna work on, I think maybe the schedule will be different.
We can't say for certain it would change. We can't say the same. We don't have data to say
It
that.
has to change.
Probably we can use that from just and just seeing numbers when you have to test people. That's all.
We got a substitute in there now. Is she certified? Or is he, or is it a certified teacher?
They're not certified.
Anything.
Yeah. No.
I don't know. I understand we haven't posted that position either.
Well, that's great.
Yeah, because during regional transfer season, I ran some.
Yeah, it's three things that are
Right.
but
So
They're just-
basically, it's not, we're going to vote not to repost the job. And we abolished the position, abolished it. So then,
We don't, nobody's losing their job.
Oh, no.
Substitute
yeah,
with, but we can create that. Like, once the schedule's finished,
You create a position, yeah, then
we can create it.
I think, I'm gonna vote no on this because of this math thing. I think that we don't need to be. I think we're not gonna pull it out and vote on it separately. I want to vote no, we'll have to pull it out.
So you either oppose or abolish. We have no choice to do. You have to do one or the other. So you're posting the position, we don't have anybody. So if you abolish it, and then you go back 2 months down the road and say, we're going to create it because we need it then. That's what we need to do, but that's the thing for our finances and students.
that's what you're looking at.
Right.
It's a student.
Find out where the students want to be.
Well, here's the thing that whenever we got this schedule, if we don't have that teacher there, are we going to know what subjects to offer in math?
They're gonna put, Ms. Griffin has created a course catalog.
You see what I'm talking about?
Yeah, we have a course catalog, of all the things that kids could be offered, which is different than what we are putting in our schedule.
Right.
So it's like, and the wording is true in policy 2510 as well. We have to offer these things. Does not mean that those always make it to our schedule in dates. But we do have a ton of things where we're going to kids, it gives a lot of options. But when we get those course requests, we will start making the choices as staff. Should we teach this or this, this or that, this or that? Based on those big numbers.
No.
This last sleeping.
She got to drive home again.
No, I'm staying in Louisville. Oh, I
Pocahontas County's not good enough.
if you all had a Hampton Inn, I'd be there. I got you.
Make a decision.
So, let's go one.
Here we go on to our first.
Yeah, go ahead.
Because.
Yes, ma'am.
What is somebody too?
Victoria Lawson is testing at Pocahontas County High School effective April the 2nd, 2025, for 40 days for the remainder of this school year will be 220 days each year thereafter.
Pocahontas County Schools.
In general, removal of Sherry Ratcliffe as emergency substitute secretary of accounts for Pocahontas County Schools.
Employment of Zachary Lewis as substitute custodian for,
Pocahontas County Schools at a statement of professional salary for the remainder of the 24
year. Employment of Gregory, thank you. It's.
I do that.
I did. Urban as substitute maintenance for Pocahontas County Schools.
state minimum professional salary for the remainder of the 24 to 25 school year.
Okay.
Greg should be a professional. But that,
Oh,
that's
dear.
service personnel.
Oh, dear.
Be afraid, professionals now. And the removal, we shouldn't have removed you, Sherry. We just should rescind it. That should be rescinded. Same thing. Now, as soon as
3 years from now, Sherry, after you retire, we can put you in that position. Okay.
Miss Lawson, she's taking.
No. The lady retired, Tim, she's taking her job.
She's taking her up for Jordan's spot.
Oh, she's
he
lasted 3 days. Yeah. So she's taking it. Okay, saying, we'll pull that one out, you want to pull that one out? I'd like to do this. Okay, we're gonna vote on all of them, but the math teaching position of Pocahontas County High School due to lack of new effective at the end of the 24-25 school year. We're gonna vote on all of them, but that one. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. That motion carries 4-0. Now, we're gonna vote math teacher position at Pocahontas County High School due to lack of need effective at the end of the 24-25 school year. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed.
Let the record show that Mr. Gibson voted against it, but motion carries. Okay, matters of the board. Mr. Gibson.
We'll start off with, Grace, Mrs. Burns was in here. Mrs. Burns is, she's really a good, she's really good for us.
Her and I went to, and I'm surprised she didn't speak on it. Her and I went to the social studies fair at Greenbrier West High School. And Mrs. Burns, you know, that's her deal.
She did a great job. And
Taking her time off from being a teacher to go down and grading, do more teacher work on her day out. That was commendable. I will say this, and it was the utmost respect to my fellow board members.
tonight, I didn't hear a report from our
Superintendent, principal,
position at the high school. And I'm disappointed in that. A couple of reasons. The biggest reason is I feel ashamed that we did not hire Mrs. Christine Campbell for our principal last week. I mean, we've just had wonderful testimony from
our esteemed professional in here saying how wonderful
he is, and we bypassed her,
and she's still doing the heavy work up there on this project.
and I think it's,
I'm embarrassed. I really.
and, you know, and
Okay, so that,
and so I want to mention that, to the student body, the parents out there, we're in the fourth quarter, don't we?
so, I mean, I really appreciate the SAT work you're doing over there. It's a big deal. And, I want to send a message out to the parents and students that,
You know, our schedule's being rearranged and our spring break's all screwed up. But we could knuckle down and finish
strong, be a good thing for us and for our students. And, I'd like to, you know, get that message
message out there somehow. And just trying to encourage as much productivity as we can finish out. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Gibson. Mr.
Well, it's baseball, softball season again.
And talking to some of the players and when Rachel was a senior, I started trying to get back to the softball field. You get 5 years in the
Top 5 years of our middle school.
school and there's still no bathrooms at softball.
We did it last year.
And that's just something. They got the lines in all we need is to
Is that something with building construction? Do?
Mr. Anybody?
Mr. Taylor, about that?
This year.
In the past, I've talked to Blaine a couple times, and, you know, it always gets moved in. We need this.
It's a huge elaborate thing. I think an 8 to 16 bathroom with a handicap stall, handicap accessible, unisex would be a lot better than a porta john on 80 degrees.
It's more expensive to build a bathroom.
Yes. You know,
Let me see if I can get it fit out.
All some baseball players, softball players the other day, and they.
And actually, they're working on the field right here.
Can you put the concession stand in that structure too?
That's what I tried to do before.
The thing is, I went and got a $10,000 grant to build it with. But then I found out that if you have a septic on public land, like high school, you can't have a septic tank.
So I ended up spending $8,000 to get my line
Run from the football field to the septic system.
and there's still
$2,000 sitting in.
account there.
It's gonna take more than $2,000. It took more than $2,000 10 years ago.
So the primary was done on that paperwork.
So you probably seen a big tank sitting there.
Yeah, I said this.
And I'm assuming all the components is still in the old version. They were when I left, but that's been 7 years ago.
Okay.
And for soccer too, soccer practices down there.
Soccer practice too, down there, too.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Anything I agree?
On that,
Ms. Hall?
Well, I would just like to say, you know, we've heard a lot of praise for the high school, and I well deserved, because they've faced some serious charges, we'll put it that way, and they're working to overcome every single one of them and come out looking good. But I think what also we cannot forget, the work that our elementary teachers
Absolutely.
and our middle school teachers do. I think sometimes we just expect them to be wonderful, and we don't ever say, you're great. I mean, if there's 25 kids in that classroom, they teach 25 kids. And you don't hear them complain. You very rarely hear an elementary teacher complain.
Yeah.
Come riff season or any other season.
You don't.
And I think we need to recognize that. And our middle school teachers the same way.
I agree. Well, thank you. When are we going to post the principal's position at Pocahontas County High School?
I've been working with Mr. Kelly, the assistant superintendent at the state level, just to go through the results of the ones that we had applied the last time, and Ms. Campbell wasn't as qualified, so we're working on that.
Shouldn't we repost though?
We were. She's acting principal as now.
That's not right, yeah, yes.
and then she should be getting paid principal's wage.
She is.
Yeah.
I figured it came out last 2 weeks ago and I've never seen it.
We need some time to go through the applicants that we have, just to make sure we're making the right recommendations.
Okay.
One other thing,
I found
today, we can no longer meet with just the teachers.
After your LSI.
After your LSIC meeting. If we do, I mean, we can, but it's got to be on out to the public. Can no longer do that. I mean, I think that we've been here for 20 years.
Well, and I have mentioned Mr. Walker's name a couple of times.
Yes.
I told you. 6 years ago.
Yeah, I mean.
When I first on board, he tells that.
Yeah, but we can no longer do that.
Of course, we meet the LSIC, we can meet with the teacher, but it has to be an open. Okay.
This started long before me and we just continued tradition and I didn't check it and something I should have
Checked on. And Tim never mentioned it to me.
So that if they said, write us a letter.
If it's a
Personnel item on
No.
on personnel, they write us a letter, send us an email. But we can't respond.
if they send us an email and they send it to all 5 board members cannot respond back.
That constitutes a board meeting.
Yep.
So we gotta be very careful how we do that.
Somebody hacked my email.
Again.
Mr. Baltic, told me somebody,
And nobody sent me any money again. But
I kind of hoping this time.
I think I got it fixed. I'm not sure.
But I won't,
Maybe my son comes home from work. He'll.
he's the wizard.
I gotta go to the high school tomorrow and talk to the.
Civics class on how to be a board member. Ms. Holmesworth, you can go with me if you'd like. It's our 8:15 in the morning. But Ms. Klein, if you're there, you're happy to set in.
there. Take a look at April.
It's Mr. Pugh's class, so, and it'll be kind of interesting, I think.
Take snake thing.
Okay. The Board of Education meeting will reconvene on Tuesday, April 15, 2025, 8 o'clock for a levy meeting. at The Board of Education Conference Room in Buckeye. Yeah, I'll be there. Okay. I don't have any other paper to adjourn us, but I guess.
No, there's.
It just says adjourn. Oh, here it is. Do I have a motion to adjourn? Mr. Gibson made the motion and Mr. McComb second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Your advisor. Our next board meeting is April 27th. I will be here. Okay. That's too long. It's way too long.